Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host, well, in 2019, Megan Thee Stallion had a hot girl summer. This year, Chet Hanks caused controversy by saying it was a white boy summer. But with temperatures soaring in Canada to highs of almost 50 degrees centigrade, there is no doubt this year he's having a hot Luke summer. Welcome, my friend and yours, Luke Hot Balls Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
I'd like to say I'm doing okay. I had my second shot on Canada Day.
Okay.
And I'm still feeling it. So I will apologize for my performance in advance. So yesterday was a day I booked off work fantastically. And what better way to spend a day that you've booked off from work than feeling ill?
You do always feel cheated when that happens, don't you?
You do. I do very much want to redo on that one. But other than that, I'm okay. And I've managed to deal with the rising heat here in Alberta. Not quite as bad as it's been out in BC. So I have to be grateful for some things.
Of course. And obviously we don't want to make light of the genuine tragedies that are happening as a result of that. But, you know, this is a safe space. We're just having a little bit of gentle fun, playful. One method I've heard to keep cool in a hot sort of situation is is to get an adult nappy and wet it, then put water on it and freeze it. Have you ever thought about that? Has it got to those states yet?
Do you put it on afterwards, or do you just feel cool knowing that it's in the freezer?
It's just knowing that you've got something great waiting for you in the freezer. You just feel like
I would have thought there would be some heat cores from my face from the smug smarminess of knowing I've got a nice icy nappy.
At any moment, I could open up my freezer and have a good old look at that frozen nappy.
Just open up your freezer, just bung your face in it for 5 seconds, just moat about it.
You could combine it with that sort of classic baby shower game, and if you put some chocolate in there, hope that a passerby sees you. But even it's fun for yourself as well to imagine you've got poo on your face, isn't it? I think either way.
I wondered if you wanted to just go with this to say you put the diaper on nappy, and then you just pretend you're a little baby, like, ooh, I made a boo boo in my.
Freeze it and then keep looking at it. I think this is good. I think this is the summer sorted.
Yeah, there we go.
It's a hot nappy. It's a filled nappy summer.
We've really got summer in a chokehold. Really, we've really Ronda Rousey armbarred summer there, haven't we, Rich?
Summer about ready to tap out at this stage. Okay, so we are still refusing to engage in any news whatsoever. We will pick this up when we sort of start our pre-season round, but we're still stretching our legs, Luke, aren't we? We're still having a little summer stretch. We got our nappies on. We're stretching out our legs.
We're waiting for that chocolate to melt so we can
waiting for that sweet chocolate to melt.
Oopsie.
I got some Chucky on my flip-flops. It's summer.
We're just regularly enjoying a chalk ice, ladies and gentlemen. Who doesn't love a chalk ice?
This is definitely the weirdest start to an episode we've ever had, which I love.
It's a 99, isn't it, Rich?
It's a 99.
It's episode 99. We've got a flake in it. It's beautiful.
Exactly. Do you like a bit of raspberry sauce red sauce on your 99?
I do. I do get worried when people just refer to it as a coloured sauce, though.
Coloured sauce. Because you think that it's racist.
What other coloured sauces do we get? Is there a green sauce? Has that been a thing?
I don't know. Sometimes you get blue. You do get a sort of blue syrup with an ice cream occasionally.
Is that the blue raspberry?
I think so. Yeah.
The classic colour of a raspberry.
We're in the raspberry realm either way with those sauces. Mm-hmm. And as we've touched on before on the podcast, in the northeast, known as monkey's blood.
Yes.
Which, adds a pretty disgusting connotation to your 99 flake. I did read somewhere there was a shortage of 99s, of flakes for 99s this summer, but I don't know whether that came to anything. we're in the sort of sunlit uplands of Brexit, Luke. So these are the sort of wonderful things that happen. We have supermarkets with pictures of kiwis rather than actual kiwi fruits. It's great. It's Donald Trump talked about winning so much that it made your head spin and you get sick of it. That's what it's like in the sunlit uplands of Brexit Britain. So what are we doing today, Luke? What are we stretching our legs into?
We're going to carry on down the road of looking at documentaries. Initially, I did want to look at Once in a Lifetime, the extraordinary stories of the New York. I always say Cosmos, but I think apparently it's Como.
Oh, okay.
As in Andrew Como. Annoyingly, couldn't get it anywhere, even though I do remember at one point it was quite readily available. Yeah. So that is a little bit disappointing. So we thought we would switch our attention to something that we haven't reviewed and something that hasn't really popped up, and that's All Wednesday. I believe the 2018, I think you said, Matt Exton.
That's right.
Directed documentary. I think it was released or kind of put out, even though it's 2018. I think the view was it was part of the 150th, anniversary celebrations that kind of came on. And a film that I did buy on DVD for Region 2, and I did go and buy a Region 3 DVD player, and I got a bit of kudos from Matt Exton putting that on Twitter a while back. He said
very good.
Appreciated my commitment to doing such a thing, and I did love it very, very much, even though it is readily available on YouTube, which is fantastic.
Up there now, which is nice. Mm-hmm. So free for all. I also have it on DVD, so I felt a certain type of smugness of owning it on DVD but watching it on YouTube, with probably slightly better fidelity on picture and sound.
The thing I will say about the YouTube is, one great thing about watching us on YouTube is you don't get an ad break until just into the credits. So like me, you won't get to see the Leo Vegas advert until the credits.
Yeah, that's good timing.
What is it with those weird kind of bingo casino sites where they have this kind of hot bangable anthropomorphized animal? Like, the Foxy Bingo type thing?
Yeah. Somebody's done some research there.
Those that gambling means you want to fucking anthropomorphized.
Yeah.
We remember Fox and the Hound,
Yeah. But, yeah, people.
Robin Hood. Disney's
exactly,
Robin Hood.
That's
what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, Fox and the Hound is actually just animals, but yeah.
But it turned you on anyway, didn't it, Luke?
It does. It does it for me. Yeah. Watch that. Go get my frozen choc ass nappy.
Hot Luke.
And that's what I've been doing the Saturdays in between recording the podcast.
Oh dear. So a film made in association with Wednesday, but in the opening sort of info, it says that the contents are not necessarily representative of Sheffield Wednesday, so or their views. Also says contains scenes that some viewers may find upsetting, which I didn't know whether that was a joke or not. I still don't know, because there's a bit of a kick in the tail of the film, which I suppose we'll get to in time. So maybe it's genuine. I think it is genuine. But obviously, for many of us, losing football matches is upsetting as well, but obviously not on quite the profound level that gets covered later on. And to make it look like we thought this through and actually maybe know what we're doing podcasting wise, the very first clip is of Shez's goal at the cup final, the onomatopoeic dink being driven home, which does tie in nicely with the 91 book that we spoke to on the previous episode. So I don't know. I think obviously again there's the caveat of we are naturally going to spoil bits of this. I think we're going to try not to run through every funny comment and joke, which we have done on previous things. But if you're going to be bothered by the fact that we are covering ground in the film, go watch the film first. We're naturally going to touch on things just in discussions that you might. There's not so much a spoiler. There's not a narrative laid out, and we all know kind of the stories that are being told, even though they're from different perspectives. But basically, I think to sort of summarize how the film works, we're introduced to kind of a plethora of fans, and some of those faces are famous or recognizable. And it's talking through memories of highs and lows at Sheffield Wednesday and being a fan, and maybe what sets Wednesday apart from other teams. And it's a real treat. It's a lovely sort of hour and a half. I think particularly having not been able to get to Hillsborough now for more than a year, there's some parts of it are particularly poignant, because you do miss those moments where you're suddenly caught by the grandeur of being at Hillsborough and the things that you're seeing in front of you. So it's a particularly nice watch after a year ruined by our good friend the pandemic. I don't know. I mean, I don't know where you want to kick things off.
I just made a kind of series of kind of chronological kind of notes, just kind of going through this. I think that's probably the best way of doing it. One thing I will say, though, actually, like there is a point near the end that I want to kind of give, just to kind of give a bit of context to this. So, I mean, it's interesting that the timeline to the film, it's a bit all over the place.
It is,
I guess. Like it doesn't look for a chronological. It kind of hops in and out. And I said it's kind of like Darren Aronofsky's The Fountain.
Right.
I don't know if you ever remember that great pretentious art house film, which I quite enjoyed, which is Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz.
I like how you say that. Yeah.
Rachel Weisz. Rachel Weisz. Going through kind of their relationship through different timelines and different eras. So it's a bit like that, but I'd say if it was that, it would be the Fountain of Shite. Cut to a Wednesday fan. It was a fountain of shite, but every now and again, randomly had some gold shooting out in it.
I think it's relative to fans of different eras, isn't it? I think it feels a bit random at first, but then I got about halfway through. I was like, okay, so we've got fans of different ages. We've got quite, sort of, I hesitate to say old fans, but probably fans in their kind of 60s or thereabouts, who are telling us about their first games, which are from the 60s. That doesn't work out time-wise, but you know what I mean. People who have basically, it comes down to witnessed the Boxing Day massacre firsthand, for instance. So you got those fans, and the highs that they talk about are around that era. It's the Boxing Day massacre, and there's a middle group of fans who probably a little bit older than us, I think, Luke, but like their sort of early days and glory days are the 90s and the cup finals, and the
one of my early notes is the classic, I got into it as we were good in the 90s.
Yes
the classic Wednesdayite refrain.
So many mugs lulled in by
I know. By a decent football side. Yeah.
That decent football for
those poor saps. Those poor saps of being cognizant and memorable at a time when we were actually any good.
Yes. And then the lows for them are relegation from the Premier League by and large. And then there's another younger group who's, I think they're sort of the early, I'm trying to think of the sort of exact timeline of things, but basically their early memories are Sturrock's promotion. The lows are around the relegation again back to League One, and then the highs are Carlos's era in charge. So you kind of got these three concurrent timelines that we cut between, as you say, and they're cut between. This is just a slight criticism in terms of the editing. The pause when you cut between these timelines is long enough for you to think that YouTube has broken. The first couple of times, like, oh no, something need to load. Oh no, it's fine. It kicks off again. But that's kind of the feel of it. So it's these talking heads and these three different timelines that we cut between. I love the Pathé News footage at the start with that cut glass narration over the top. 60,000 fans in at Hillsborough. Didn't matter that a little bit that it was raining. That sort of thing.
The whole Mr. Chumley Warner.
Yes.
Mr. Chumley Warner. Yeah.
Not one of those Wednesday faithful mattered. They were bothered by the weather as they soared off Tottenham Hotspur. I sort of skipped about a bit because I've taken the note about not absolutely sort of ruining every individual moment, but I loved. So Jez, I didn't catch his second name, but he's one of our talking heads, and he's got a. I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. He sells sandwiches out of a van. I can't think of a better way to put that.
He's a hot sandwich merchant.
He's a purveyor of
greasy, delicious, unhealthy wares.
Yeah.
Is he one of the typical characters that you've seen kind of camped outside of Hillsborough, or is that? He's
not part of my experience just because I don't come that way. It looked like he was maybe further into the corner, but I don't know. I'm really struggling to for what a better word for that would be. But anyway, it's not just fry ups, because there's a brie and cranberry sandwich on offer there as well. So a bit of a classy joint. But I loved his story about being a ball boy. He talked about Big Ron getting the job as Wednesday manager at the time he was a ball boy, and it seemed to be sort of a last-minute victory in the game, and he ended up getting a huge bear hug from Big Ron, which ended up on the front of the Star and in the end-of-season video too. And I just love the detail of, as well, going, and it was in the end-of-season video. It's just that used to be such a facet of being a fan of the team, was you got the end-of-season video, which obviously nowadays, with kind of access to every game's highlights on YouTube, it doesn't really exist in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've skipped through bits that you've got notes for there.
Just some commentary on some of the fans. This gentleman named Chris Turton. More fans should have a series of branded lawn bowls, I must say.
Those were great. Very, very cool.
They were dead classy. I mean, that makes me kind of want to get into lawn bowling, gonna be honest with you.
Almost made me wonder if there is a Wednesday bowls team. He looked very kitted up.
He looks exactly the part, didn't he? Really.
I mean, we've got a blooming women's team, which is just as related. Oh dear.
Did you love the sheer? I thought this was some of the best fake versions of popular songs of certain eras that I've ever seen in a documentary.
I don't know that I noticed that.
It was all I noticed for the first bit. I was like,
wow.
I said, that's the most impeccably nondescript Heart of Glass ripoff I've ever heard. And then we had My Prerogative.
Oh, yes.
Which was interesting. Was it Bobby Brown, the original?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Because I all I can ever think about is Britta's, doing it.
Yes.
And then we had a fake version of Venus as well.
I did spot that one, yeah.
Bananarama's classic.
Oh, I'll have to go back and I hadn't spotted that detail that they were sort of fake versions, but that's quite fun.
Still, with the commissioning of things, I mean, it's a big get to have the Tango advert featured. Yeah, that was nice. Fitting for us that Tango's featured for this kind of element of time. I mean, yes. You couldn't really do all Wednesday without speaking to Tango, I guess.
No, and there's some lovely details there. I mean, first off, he's a Brummie. Who would have known?
Yes. Oh, I knew. I'm very aware of Paul Gregory's background. Yes.
Oh, you're a great admirer of it. Because normally you hate things to do with the Midlands, but you love his background. Okay. He had the most hooly-looking T-shirt on, which is another fun detail. Which it was 5 Finger Urban Wear. Which, if I could try and find it again, 5 Finger Urban Wear, which is basically describes itself on its website that it's to do with hooligans. Five Finger Urbanwear is a leading UK-based online casual clothing company. The casual subculture is a subsection of association football culture that is typified by football hooliganism and the wearing of expensive designer clothes. So, like, they're openly just going like, if you're a hooligan, here's your gear. So that was his T-shirt, which made me laugh, and also the fact he's mates with the guy with the mad wig from Pompey.
Yes, Mr. Portsmouth. Didn't he change his name to Portsmouth?
He did, yeah, which is fantastic.
I'm glad you picked that up because I loved how he knows the other character fans. Like there's some type of super fan Avengers type thing. Yeah.
Oh dear, feels a lot more Justice League, doesn't it? But
yes, I would say.
But I did like it's interesting that actually a couple of the stories were just as simple as I just went along to a game and I was immediately bitten by the bug, and that's kind of his story. Like they were playing Carlisle and I went along. It's just amazing to think that he's got to where he is now in terms of his fame and fandom from just a kind of off chance.
You'll get to see him back, Rich. He's finished his band's finished, so he'll be back.
Well, I saw him on Wembley Way as well, so he's obviously
I saw the great tweet with someone taking a picture like behind Harry Kane, like dead into the eyes of Sanko.
Oh,
the true adversarial picture we all need in our life.
I thought he was sort of long. I thought he was more established before the Tango advert. But it's interesting is that it was sort of. I know it's obviously like he wasn't called Tango, but I thought he was like a character and a feature. Then the Tango adverts came and he got called Tango. But it feels the way it's told is like almost like the second or third time. It was almost maybe like the Tango adverts are on. He was then a large man with his shirt off, bald man with his shirt off, and then it feels a lot more kind of directly related. But maybe that was just my.
Tango's still a thing in the UK, isn't it? The drink, the beverage.
Vaguely, you get the feeling it's kind of clinging on a little bit. It's made by Pepsi, who are part of Britvic, and Pepsi have
Britvic.
Yeah, or Britvic are part of Pepsi. Sorry. So you can get it in Subway, and that's about the only place that you get Tango served. You can get Gatorade and Tango. It's a bit weird. A bit of a weird selection in old Subway. Alongside their tuna sandwiches that don't have any tuna in. Which
don't have any DNA of tuna. Yes, I heard about that stuff, yeah.
It's a bit less sensational when you read the whole article, but still, it's quite fun to say and ruminate on. One other thing I just picked out was memories of Luxembourg. So there was talk of that kind of store. And everyone buying hot dogs but not liking the taste of the Frankfurters, so chucking them on the floor and just eating the bun, which is so little England. It really makes me laugh. Is it spicy? Oh, it tastes spicy. Oh, chucked it on the floor.
I wish I still had my 1991 anniversary War of the Monster Trucks t-shirt that the club produced with, I can't remember what they're called. I think they were like a fan-based Wednesday clothing.
Okay.
East Bank Gentlemen's Club.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Sorry, that was kind of around the time. So, yeah, sorry, I'm hopping around as well.
Go for it,
this is just a bit before. So, yeah, with the Luxembourg bit, was Luxembourg is the Grand Duchy of Europe, is top local journalism.
And the fans, they showed a clip of the fans just singing Luxembourg. Like, you go to, that's what you do, is you go to a place and you just chant where you are.
Chant the name of where you are, yeah.
Luxembourg. Oh dear, very funny.
So around the 1991, we go into the fantastic, War of the Monster Truck stuff. We have the fantastic stuff of talking to the people behind the fanzines, which were incredible for those times. And I still remember my eldest brother Andy used to purchase quite a few when he went to games, and top tittering reads that I used to love at the time. The guy going, even Granada, it was fantastic.
Yeah, that was great. For people that have not watched it and maybe don't know as much about Wednesday, is it worth explaining the War of the Monster Trucks?
No, I feel like
the film.
Our audience knows all about War of the Monster Trucks, right? And if you don't, then you can just watch all Wednesday, and that sums it pretty well, really.
Yeah, I like, and also if we got so Pete McGee is one of the talking heads that we feature as well, and he talks about getting his first paid gig as doing cartoons for fanzines, which is fun. It's a shame that fanzine culture was fun, and I do remember. I think I remember as a kid they were a bit rude for me, but that was kind of part of the fun as well. Like they were making jokes that I didn't really get some of the time, or a lot of the time maybe. But yeah, I suppose like in a way, message boards have become the place where that kind of humour gets shared. But it's not the same. It's not the same as having a thing to look through and keep in the same way, is it?
Not quite, no.
But I do feel like, Owl's Talk and those sort of places, Owl's Online, are receptacles for a similar sort of take on things, and maybe podcasts as well.
I'd like to give a shout out to the person who did top work on the subtitles for YouTube, which I had on. I think I just naturally had on. I don't think I actually turned it on. But imagine to spell "dunt" as D-U-N-T, as in "don't matter," was pretty fantastic.
Yes. I also really empathised with the. Well, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. Sorry, but it is fanzine related. But chapter 2 is focusing on the many lows, and the two chaps from War of the Monster Trucks talking about just being absolutely worn down by the week to week awfulness of it all. And I think. Definitely really empathised with that point, having had 2 years of we had 6 months of very good football and winning football, and then everything since has been pretty dreadful in terms of the timeline of our little
and who knows when it will end.
Yes, exactly. It's not feeling like it's anytime soon. So chapter 1 is kind of the beginnings. Chapter 2 is focusing on the lows of things. We get a lot about Dave Allen and his tenure. Get to see him saying cretins again.
That's interesting. Yeah, great to see Dave Allen again. Great to see all that stuff. Though interesting, like it kind of laid off some of the controversy, right?
They did mention suing the fans, didn't they? But it was very much in passing. There's nobody interviewed about that.
Which I mean, the interesting thing I thought about this, because it does give a decent whole feel of being a Wednesdayite. But I think the thing that I'd liked about it, I'm glad that so much of it's more positive than negative.
Yes.
Like the negative stuff isn't dwelled on greatly.
I think that is the shortest bit, isn't it? The lows of the chapters. Well, it felt like it sort of whizzed by in that way. Maybe it just was the familiarity of misery. It's like,
I guess it needs to be kind of connected and kept in the narrative that, like, it is the fountain of shite, effectively.
Yes.
But it's a better kind of watching experience to kind of mainly focus on the positives that we've got here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Though it does feel sometimes a bit jarring to be like, well, then we beat Brighton in the semis.
Yes.
It's like, oh, okay. It was all great from there, wasn't it? We went to Wembley and we beat United in the 93 FA Cup semi-final.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it is a touch jarring. I still think it's very well made, and I can see. I think the more you get into it, the more you kind of see the logic behind the pacing and the narrative. But at times, I think the same thing as you. It's a little jarring at times, maybe.
To use a very in vogue critical a phrase that critics use an awful lot about film. I think it has some Act 3 problems, and I think it is, as you say, it's kind of jarring. It's like we get shown this little glimpse of the down times, so that obviously we can appreciate the up times. But it's much nicer to spend time thinking about that. But it does end up being a bit of a kind of a whiplash almost between those two chunks because it's just such a different tone. There's no kind of middle ground, and maybe I suppose you've always got to think about time, and it does. There's no point where it feels like it drags or anything like that. So I think it is well paced out, and maybe adding it. Maybe they did have another section that was more about things getting solved and things getting turned around, which feels like it could find a place, could have a chapter of its own. Maybe that just didn't, because like that, as you say, we go straight to Brighton in the semi-finals. We don't see anything else from that season. You could see the win against Arsenal and being like, oh, this is a Wednesday team. And I'm sure other teams had that sort of those moments as well. In fact, I think they do that for the 1991 season.
Right.
They do a little bit more of that because you see the first game of the season and this is going to be great now because I suppose we don't see the end of that so much because we've already seen the cup. I don't know. Anyway, it's the hodgepodge sort of jumping around struggles a little bit at that moment, that kind of.
I guess in defense, though, the difficulty of doing that is you can't really tell the narrative of this is a period of success, right?
No.
And also it's not about that. It is about all Wednesday, you know.
And it's also not, by virtue of that, it's not tarnished too much. Because I did sort of make a note about Mandarich appearing and then deleted it because it actually doesn't make a hero of Mandarich too much. Like it's mentioned in passing, but you don't go into the detail of what he did. You don't really see anything about Chancery arriving, so it doesn't make a hero of Chancery either. Like it's quite good because it sticks to the fans and the fan stories and the players on the pitch. It doesn't get too embroiled with that, which I think would have aged it badly. There's still moments where it's wistful and tinged with sadness now because you're looking at it and it's like the story that is being told here, unfortunately, we're back to chapter 2 in terms of the Wednesday cycle of things. So some of these like brighter day moments, Wembley should have been a turning point, should have been a point of togetherness and should have been a step along the road for Wednesday, and it ended up not being.
Did you remember? You've watched it on DVD, right?
No, I've only watched it on YouTube.
But you own it on DVD.
I own it on DVD, yes.
Right, because I did watch it on DVD.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't really talk to you about this, but
well, you can if you want. I won't know.
I won't know about that. It'd be like when I say, Rich, isn't it so good when you put on a frozen nappy full of chocolate? Don't you just put it on and be like, I'm like a baby cornetto. Anyway, so I think the gentleman's name is David Graves. So okay. He's the Black American chap.
Yes.
So I think there's a bit more of a narrative within the DVD, and I don't know if it was like a different cut I saw.
Okay.
Or whether it was just an outtakes, just kind of more on the fans. But he's got an interesting story because I think he's from Chicago, I think I want to say.
Okay.
But there's a bit more of a narrative around, how he became a Wednesdayite.
Okay.
But so again, but you haven't seen that, so you can't.
There was a little bit about him, but it wasn't a huge feature.
But I can't even remember if that was featured, though, because I remember, like, learning of him from a previous one.
Okay. Well, he talked about going into the stadium and seeing, like, all the people stand up when they scored a goal, which is a very sort of American thing. Because it's like, that does happen everywhere. I know it's nice that was your, that's what hooked you into Wednesday, but...
It's kind of universal, yeah.
You could have literally gone to any ground, and if the home team scored, that's what would happen. Because unlike American sports, most people don't sit there and just eat snacks and wander about for hours and hours. We sit and watch the thing that we've come to see.
While we're talking about some of the lowest moments, it's interesting to have elements that kind of trigger you. And really seeing the bit where I started seeing snow in 2010, that really kind of took me back. And then, for me, I had seen this before, but initially when that snow came on, I'm like, we're going to talk about Exeter away, aren't we?
Oh, yeah. Oh, those two young lads.
What what a token kind of third tier Duff Wednesday talisman getting a consolation goal in Tommy Miller. It just says so much before the fact the rest of the narrative kind of comes in, really.
Well, just how many games have we had where it's 0-0 or 1-1 at half time and then just the
and then we capitulated.
Capitulated just ridiculously.
I did love at one point, I think part of this, and if I made this note, but I loved one of the fans, it might have been Jez, being like, well, we all know what happened after then.
Yeah.
I would love to just more fans being like, well, this blah, blah, blah. And then we all know what happened.
Well, we know. We know.
So God bless those who attended Exeter away. We remember your service.
Yes.
And also great retelling that Wednesday won 4 of the last 5 and Exeter were inconsistent. I loved how they're talking about that. Like, they were so kind of felt so kind of hard done to by the situation. Yeah. They said it's, felt like they're in a social experiment. And I've made a note. Being a Wednesday fan is a social experiment.
Without the gotcha moment.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Just continually waiting for Ashton Kutcher, aren't we?
Yes. Well, it's also that old adage. Well, I don't know whether it's an old adage for other people, but my personal experience for Wednesday is the more out of your way you go, or the more things you have to like. Basically, the more inconvenienced you are by getting along to see Wednesday, the likelihood of them letting you down entirely is increased almost exponentially. So if you had a big event and you've like fallen out with your family because you need to go see this game, we're going to lose that game. If you've had a terrible time on the way to the match and you don't get there till like 20 minutes in or whatever, we're going to lose that game. Like they're never rewarded for going the extra mile to see Wednesday or watch Wednesday. They will always let you down in those moments. And the more mountains you've moved to get there, the more likely it is to happen.
I've got a bit of defending to do. So we focus on the one bit focuses on the kid who was taken to Hillsborough by his dad.
Yes.
And have the fantastic Twitter video, which I think went viral, and a lot of people, a lot of Wednesdayites and a lot of people just in football loved it because it summed up,
yeah,
a very similar kind of club experience for a lot of people. That he covers his eyes and he opens his eyes and he's just absolutely made up with what he sees.
Yes,
just everything about it in his first game. He's then asked, he said, why does he like it? He says, kid in Hillsborough site shocker proclaims that he likes that Wednesday score goals. Now kids do say the darndest things.
Yes.
There's also the phrase from the mouth of babes as well, but I don't think that's the situation here. But to be fair to him, he does use they score goals. His they statement could be for the opposition as well.
I think he says they always score goals. Which
I don't think it's just they score goals.
Oh, I thought he said always. But either, I mean,
I love
a disposition for that kid is going to get.
We got to the level where we just take apart what children say.
I love the story. I apologize, I didn't take his name down. I sort of missed that opportunity right at the start, and then spent the rest of the film sort of cursing myself for not jotting down who was who. But he's the same fan who walked a player off the pitch on his shoulders in the 60s.
That was fantastic.
Talked about the cup being at the Players' Hotel after the Rumbelows Cup win, and managing to sneak into the Players' Party. And that's where that's where the Bananarama plays, doesn't it? As all the players sort of dance about on a slightly raised stage in a very sort of drab-looking hotel, sort of hotel events room. It's and as he enters this, the fan enters this sort of layer of unspeakable wonder. Whoever talks him into the party, or vouches for his way into the party, says, "You're gonna have the time of your life, lads," and really looked it looked like a very sad affair, to be honest. I mean, where was the coke and hookers? It didn't look like the best time of anybody's life, really.
No, I must say that Wednesday karaoke song that they were singing.
Yes, yeah.
What was that? Why wasn't that on my We Are the Owls CD compilation? Why didn't I review that on the previous episode?
Yeah, because it was Barmy Army, wasn't it? Something to do with Barmy Army. I wonder if we
should just do a really terrible Wednesday song, Rich.
Yeah.
Well, I say Sheffield, you say Wednesday. Sheffield.
Wednesday. I think we should. I think we should go full. I think we should go full like Jive Bunny, 80s/90s excess.
Yes.
Lots of samples and record scratching. What Wednesday? What?
Some brilliant editing, I will say. We've been a bit critical of some of the editing. The fantastic bit we had talked about the Wickham game. If I would have done this, I would have talked about, and we can talk. I'll put a pin. Actually, I'll put a pin in that. And we'll talk about it some other time. There was some bit about the Wickham game wasn't covered. However, cutting away from Nile Ranger taking his shirt off was fantastic, because yes, it's not about you, Nile. You are not a changed man. You're still a naughty boy.
He really wasn't a changed man, was he?
No, he wasn't. No.
I sort of would have liked us to have given him a chance. I think after that season.
He was all right, but I think there were quite a few characters around that time who were very. I don't know. I feel like I'm a unique person, seemingly, because there are times I find myself kind of traipsing across some kind of argument on Owls Talk regarding some players, and I'm like, people are like, "Oh, he was terrible," and I'm like, "Oh, I thought he was okay," and that one of those people, I'm going to say Sanchez Watt.
Yes, yeah.
I didn't think Sanchez Watt was anywhere near as bad as people said he was.
No, I
don't really understand what happened to him.
I tend to agree. Yeah, I like that whole the section on the 2011-12 season. Lots of sort of knowing laugh-inducing moments, and definitely like rubbing it in with the pigs talking about Mind the Gap and things like that. That was really fun. It is. There's a slightly wistful tinge to that, knowing that we are now back in League One.
Yeah, I know.
That's what sort of adds a bit of the coda to the film. is the world laughing at us yet again as we dip below the waves.
It makes you wonder if football is truly a cyclical thing. I mean, we'll get into what we think, but I feel like me and you are probably going to be in agreement that Wednesday are probably going to have a pretty duff season next year. But it also kind of makes you secretly maybe get a little bit excited that the year after that.
Yes.
That's going to be when the pigs come down, when they get relegated this year, and then we can overtake them. And they hire Danny Wilson. Mandarich comes back.
I think it'll be Brian Laws this time they hire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we've got Brian Laws is your best manager for years. Well, that's my impression of the collective Sheffield United.
Oh, yeah. Does this bring us on to chapter 4, which is incredibly...
I got just a couple of tiny things to touch on. I loved hearing about the Boxing Day Massacre memories from fans that were there. That was really lovely, and seeing some of the footage. Although it's unfortunately at that point where like footage is so old, it sort of almost doesn't bear any resemblance to reality. But it was nice to hear some stories around that time, and the same Wednesday fan who went on the pitch and carried a player off on his shoulders managed to sneak his way into the celebrations after the cup win. Also told a story about wandering into a pub and sort of basically cheering in the face of a piggy landlord. So a bit of a one is that fan. A bit of a one. I wish I'd taken down his name because he does have some of the best anecdotes. And the other thing, when they were talking about the 2014-15 playoffs, I just will never tire of seeing footage from that night against Brighton. It was so special to be part of. The football we were playing was extraordinary. The goals we scored were fantastic, and just the whole stadium lit up with lights. I know that's been done to death, and I think somebody even in the comments says it was like a Coldplay gig. I think we did it before the Coldplay gig. I think Coldplay copied the fact that people did it at stadiums. I'm not that Coldplay are not innovators in the idea that there's lots of people in a stadium so they could put some lights on them. It was such a special moment, so it's really nice to see that again. But that does bring us on to chapter 4.
Yeah, Chris Martin, consciously uncouple yourself from that concept, dickhead.
I used to love there's an Adam and Joe running gag about him like dragging the rest of the band into these stupid outfits and things like that. Guys, we're doing graffiti this time. That's going to be the theme. And they're just like these just normal lads, like, oh, great. What do I have to wear this time? Well, we're all going to be in mankinis. Oh, dear. Although Chris Martin did take part in a very funny comic and quite self-aware comic relief sketch about doing a musical for Lord of the Rings, which does make me like him a lot more than I maybe would otherwise. Have you ever seen that?
I've not, no. You'll have to send to me offline.
It's pretty funny. Yeah. Anyway. So the fourth chapter is really going through where sort of tragedy has touched people's lives, and how the club has been intertwined with that, and how the club has maybe helped with that. And by club, I mean the community around the club, the fans, the people, not so much individuals who are under the employ of Sheffield Wednesday, although I'm sure many of those have been part of the help. So, I mean, I don't know how much there is to say here. What, in terms of looking at this as a piece of creative work, how did you feel about that being a kind of end segment to things? And do you have any other?
I don't know where else you'd put that stuff.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's an intrinsic part of a fan experience? I think I probably do, and I know this is a small part of it, but I do. One of my favorite moments at football matches is when a player goes off injured and everybody stands to applaud them off, because I love those moments where it's almost like it's an acknowledgement of there's a bigger thing at play here. It's not just there's the tribal sort of rivalry on and off the pitch, but there's also just something, we're part of a bigger shared experience, and I think those moments are lovely, and you do get that. It was it ended up being a little bit overdone, but like minutes applause for fans who passed away, and that's one of the things that's covered. Those moments are an intrinsic part, I think, of being a fan. So I do think it was good that it was covered, and I guess you wouldn't want it would cast a pall if it was put somewhere else within the film.
Yeah, I think you need something to show that every bit of every kind of fan experience is a drop in the ocean, and the kind of continuation of all the narratives of all Wednesdayites, right? All the connection that we feel, and that's part of the bigger lengthy narrative that we all have, right?
Yeah. Now, quite often we joke about you being cancelled, Luke, and I'm going to launch into a couple of things that I've written here at the end that may well result
get you cancelled,
get me cancelled, or maybe it'll be funny. I don't know.
Okay.
But one of the sort of, well, it wasn't so much a tragic story because this one had a happier ending, but one of the stories was about a little lad born with a hole in his heart who ended up being a mascot, carried on to the pitch by his favourite player, Jackie Hunt, as I used to like calling him. Now, I was born with 2 holes in my heart, okay? And I think I deserve to be a mascot too. and carried onto the pitch by Barry Bannon. You might say, Rich, he's a cute, cherubic little child, and you are an overgrown man. As you said previously, Luke, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is today. Wednesday can right the wrongs of yesterday by making me a mascot now. I was a cute kid too. Don't forget that. It all feeds in. So what do you think? Can you get behind this motion, Luke?
I am. I'd love to see Barry Bannon really just ruining his body, trying to carry you onto the pitch.
Using the last years of his career on lumbering around with me.
I'd also like the great idea of him doing this and ruining his body in the process, and you saying to him during the process, being like, "Well, you did say you want to retire at Sheffield Wednesday, so we're just bringing that date a little bit further along."
Carpe diem, as I leap into his arms.
You can think the positives, Barry. You can spend more time at home with your very, very beautiful wife.
Yes. Oh dear. So there you go. That is. There should be a hashtag probably.
What would that hashtag be, Rich?
I don't know. Oh, we should think of one.
I see your one hole and raise you. You were born with 2 holes in your heart, Rich.
I was born with 2 holes in my heart. Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah, and
you've come a long way, baby.
Oh, absolutely. I was born with 2 holes in my heart and my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck 3 times. I did have a friend who said, "Could you not take a hint?"
I do love the idea of you just being very putsy, kind of slightly maybe Jewish. Kind of, like that kind of character. Just getting yourself into all these like little baby scrapes.
You shouldn't have left it out.
I would have had a sister who died of a hole in the heart. So.
Oh right. Oh wow.
Yeah. Wow. We've all been touched. Anyway, should we go back to talking about this young kid?
How about hashtag Barry carry Rich? Sorry, go on.
Rich could be like, I've carried you, Barry, for so long. Now it's time. Now the tables have turned. Now the carrier becomes the carried. I'm also just more enamored that you didn't go with as a Scottish contingent of different gravy. You didn't go with the most Scottish of our players. That's Liam Palmer.
Oh yes, the Flying Scotsman, as we all call him.
Flying Scotsman. The real reason that your team didn't progress any further in the Euros was the staggering omission of Liam Palmer.
I genuinely think we would have done better with him in the team. But I think the thing is, I think Barry Bannon, the comedy value of him trying to hold me in any way, it's very visually arresting. And I think Liam might actually be built enough to do a decent job. Like, I think he might be able to.
Right, that's kind of the problem with it, really. And I'm just imagining you on some type of throne as well. With a crown and a little kind of cape.
And just the smallest players, like Alex Hunt and Barry Bannon holding me aloft. Are there any other midgets?
I don't know. Well, we will see.
Kadeem Harris back for a temporary.
Kadeem Harris, yeah. I was going to say, well, we'll see who else is promoted from the youth ranks for the 2021-2022 season. There are midgets we do not know about, Rich. And we don't know about them because there's poor coverage of the academy stuff online.
Midgets beyond our imagination.
But it's fine because we'll get to know them because they'll be first-team players.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we said we weren't going to talk about...
We're not doing this. We're not doing this.
Not doing this. A lot of that stuff was very heartbreaking in Chapter 4. There's a lot of... The emotion was nailed very well. It was nice to focus on those stories. It still gets me about two fans who went to Coventry and didn't come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the abiding. It's the same. It's almost word for word the phrase that's used about the Hillsborough disaster. You know, these are people that just went to the football. They didn't do anything more daring than that, and never came back. And that is something that is hugely affecting and easily relatable to for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely.
Do you find just switching gears here, this is really to kind of focus on the fan experience and looking at this. A great reminder probably around this time that coming into this season that we are essentially the club beyond Chancery PLC.
And Sheffield 1, Sheffield 2, Sheffield 3, whatever the various shell corporations are.
Lessons learned from Sheffield 1 to Sheffield V. As the corner shop said.
Oh dear. Yes. We're the abiding sort of essence of the club. Everything else is can fall away, but there's this is, you know, what the kind of beating heart of everything is the fans, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's interesting because they do show the empty stadium, and I think Pete McGee is on the voiceover sort of saying, you know, none of this makes sense without the fans, and it's just funny that we've had a full season and another sort of half season, or at least a kind of tail end of a season with no fans in the grounds. It's going to be so we've kind of had that bizarre experience of no fans in the ground that would almost be unthinkable, and I'm very, very much looking forward to my first game since the Man City Cup game. I'm going to see the friendly with Chester next week. The Seals are my local team, so I'm very, very much looking forward to that. I don't know what sort of shape Wednesday will be in when I see them, but I suppose I can report back in a small amount of detail on the next episode. So any other sort of thoughts?
So the biggest twist in the whole tale of this for me, alongside the Leo Vegas advert within the credits, was the spelling of Trevor Braithwaite doesn't have an E on the end.
Oh yeah,
I thought it had an E on the end.
That's a big twist.
It's a big old twist. They gave some thanks to a lot of people, including the Wednesday Week.
I saw that, yeah,
which was nice, but I don't recall seeing any of those fine personnel.
No,
part of us. So it's interesting, including also Vintage Wednesday Vids, which I imagine is a YouTube site. I think I've seen some of their stuff before, but like I don't know if they're actually the original copyright holders.
I know, yeah, that's quite funny, isn't it? Yeah,
that's funny.
I was still on YouTube, but yeah. I probably shouldn't say this, but I've got to say it. And I have to say, and apologies because this is in distinctly poor taste, but I was really glad his dad didn't die. I just had this weird feeling because we were doing the sad moments and his dad had been the start of it. I was really, really worried. And I think I'm just so programmed for like gotcha moments from films and TV. You know, like almost every time somebody's in a car, you just expect the car to be hit on TV shows now because it's just such an overused, dramatic kind of ploy. And I just thought with the documentaries, like, is the end of it going to be? And like, this is dedicated to my dad and like my dad's gone. I'm really, really pleased he's not. But I can't help. I couldn't help having that thought. Did you not think that? I suppose you've seen it, so you wouldn't have thought it this time. But did you have that thought at all the first time?
I'm a bit confused. I'm going to be honest.
What? How do you mean?
Who's dad? Who's dad?
Matt Exton's dad is kind of like featured at the start and is one of the talking heads. And then when we got to the Saturday, I was like, oh crap! Oh, I really, really like. I can't. I'm not emotionally.
You're not ready for that circle back to say. Yeah.
Because many documentaries, it'd be like, and I support Wednesday because of my dad, and here's my dad. The film's dedicated to my dad, and then the end would be, and by the way, sadly passed away. Like that just. I'm really glad it didn't happen. I'm not making light of the thought of it happening, but I can't help like my brain, because I think, as I say, I've seen it so often. as a trope, my brain naturally was like, oh crap, that's going to be the kind of last thing that kind of would close out with, and then I'm going to be in bits before bedtime. But I was really pleased that it didn't happen. So I mean, kudos to Matt for not having that gotcha moment, and also to his dad for thankfully being around.
So not kicking it.
Yeah. So yeah, as I say, lots of caveats and apologies, but I was thinking that it's there's like there's like sites dedicated to like, does the dog die or whatever, so that people can know ahead of time, like before I get emotionally invested in this, is this going to be what they do?
Yeah.
So it was almost a bit like that. I was like, no, I didn't know this was the way we were headed. Because as I say, when I saw the comment at the start about some people finding it upsetting, I was just like, hilarious. Wednesday can really be upsetting. But obviously there are bits towards the end that are genuinely upsetting and moving. So it probably isn't a joke. But it was just my assumption at the beginning. It's like, hilarious, good one. Losing to Exeter is very, very depressing. But it's a great watch. I think anybody that's not seen it, I would recommend dedicating a bit of time towards it. It's really good, and I think particularly against the backdrop of fans not being allowed in stadiums for so long, it's particularly poignant. And maybe even at this sort of time, we've talked a bit about enthusiasm tanks and things like that. Like, frankly, Wednesday have let everybody down on so many levels consistently for the last 24 months. It's nice to sort of be reminded why we're all here and why we stick through these things. So it's a good sort of top up for that enthusiasm tank, I would say.
I might see Wednesday again, Rich, one day.
Yeah,
could happen.
As long as you don't get the wrong vaccine. I'm fuming because I've got one of the wrong vaccines, so I'm not allowed to go to Europe or America. Oh, so silly. But yeah, as long as you're poorly with the right vaccine, then I'm sure we'll let you in at some point.
Well, I guess it's working, I guess. So I guess I am. I guess it's working.
It's working.
It's going to work fast by making me feel like shit.
As long as you haven't pooped it out already. Am I right? Do we want to solicit entries for next week's show?
I think that would be lovely. Let us do that.
So do you want to give a bit of a sorry that this is unprompted, but do you want to give a bit of a rundown? Obviously,
I will.
Our 100th episode?
Yes. So in 2 weeks' time, we're releasing this on the 4th of July. So the 18th of July, we will put out our 100th episode of Different Gravy. And in celebration of that, we want to do, might not be the most original thing, but something that I thought would be really, really nice for us to do as part of maybe kind of curtailing and ending a very difficult kind of period for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I thought it would be lovely to have an episode where we talk about our favorite Sheffield Wednesday memories. And so Rich and I will be feverishly working away like beavers to bring back some of those great memories that I think we have from our time as Wednesdayites. Yeah. And we would very much like our amazing listeners to contribute.
Yeah, please. I think anything that you're willing to share, we'd be really happy to receive. And I think, it feels like a big moment. It's been broadly, it's great fun putting together the podcast, and we're really amazed. We continue to be amazed that anybody else listens, and we're so pleased that people do seem to enjoy it. And yeah, there's a bit of an opportunity, I think, hopefully, just to sort of celebrate those good things and again remind ourselves why we stick with this blooming football team with some of those sweet memories. So we should probably tell people how they can do that, can't we? So if you want to send them through Twitter, we are at gravy_pod on Twitter. So you can at us, or you can DM us. You can slide into our DMs. Or we do have we're one of the very few folks in the world that have managed to get a Gmail email address. So pretty cool, not to brag, but we are differentgravypod@gmail.com as well. So it would be lovely to hear from some of you. I think it will add to the show. We're hoping to make a bit of a thing of it being our 100th episode. So whatever you can contribute would be fantastic. And other than that, that's about it from me this week, Luke.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And me too as well.
Well, I hope you rally and feel better, Luke.
Thanks. Do you get the thing where people go, feel better?
Like really, like with an exclamation mark as well.
Yes. Yeah. Like it's on me to feel better, you know? Hope your immune system works, you fuck.
Stop being such a weakling.
Hope you get over. Stop being a pussy.
It's one of those strange things, though, isn't it? Because I don't think we've got good language around lots of those things.
No, we don't.
Because I'm someone that I would say I don't believe in luck, but then good luck is about the only thing you can say in certain situations. There's no like good alternative.
No. So
you end up saying good luck, and it's like I don't really mean that's meaningless from me. But it's the only platitude I have to hand. Well, I don't know what to say then, Luke. I hope that whatever happens with your current abiding health situation. But it would be nice if it moved in a positive direction, although I appreciate that is not a conscious decision you're able to make. How's that?
Beautiful. You've got away with words, Rich.
And you folks at home, I also hope that you continue to be well and safe. Some of that will be based on your own affirmative actions that you can take in your life. Some of that will be the whims of the universe at large. I don't blame you for the bad things that happen to you unless it's entirely your fault. So go about your week with that in mind. And I'll say cheerio to you, Luke, and I'll say cheerio to those folks at home.
Thanks, Rich. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye.
May the odds be forever in your favor.